Alrighty, so first we're going to hit Shift A, search for Mesh, go to Icosphere. We're going to switch the subdivisions to 5 in our panel down here. We'll right click and Shade Smooth. Then if we click our camera here, go to Camera View, switch the focal length to a 102, like so. Then we can go up here, turn on Rendered Preview, and go to the drop down and uncheck this Scene World button. And by doing that, that just gives us some nice 3D lighting. We're going to play with the lighting a little bit at the end to give us a better view of our lava, but just for now, that is what we'll be doing. Then if we head over here to Render Properties, we are in Eevee currently. You can do this in cycles if you wish, but if you're in Eevee, make sure you have Ambient Occlusion, Bloom, and Screen Space Reflections checked, just so that you get it looking proper. And if you want to down here, you can go ahead and change this look to medium high contrast, just so we can get some more contrast between the rock and the material. Then head over to Shading. You can set up your workspace however you want, but if you have it set up somewhere like this, you need to have your 3D viewport and your nodes set up, and that's about it. So I have mine set up over here, same as the viewport, and I went to Camera View. Then with our Icosphere selected, we can add a new material. I've already added mine and named it Lava Rocks. I just called it Lava Rocks, you can call it whatever you want. But anyways, to get started, we're just gonna hit Shift A and search up a noise texture like this. Then with this selected, we'll press Ctrl T, and if you press Ctrl T and that doesn't work, make sure you go to Edit Preferences and search up the Node Wrangler add-on and just hit the checkbox right here, and then it should work for you. Next, go over here to Object and draw that into the vector. And if we Control Shift and left click on the noise texture, and on this noise texture, we're going to switch the scale to a 4, the detail to a 15, and the roughness to a 0.6. Then we're going to modify this further, and this is probably one of the more complicated parts of the thing, but it's really simple. It's just a color ramp, and we're just going to be inputting some values into the nodes right here. So to do that, we're going to change this black right here, and we're going to change it all the way to a white. Then in between these two guys, I'm going to go ahead and add 2 nodes right here. And the 2 in between ones, I'm going to switch to a pure black like this. Then on this white, we're going to put the position at a 0.27 like this. Then on this black, we're going to put the position at a 0.287. Then on the other black, we'll put the position at a 0.42. And this white, we will put the position at a 0.435. And essentially what we are doing with this mask is we are deciding where we want the lava and the rock to be. But we are not quite done with this yet. So we're going to select one of these black ones and hit the plus sign. And then I'm going to drag it all the way over here. Oops, the gray one. Where are you? And if you're ever you're dragging the wrong one, you can always on the opposite click, and it will undo what you just did. So we're going to take the middle one right here. We'll drag it all the way to the side. Then with that one selected, I'm going to hit the plus sign 3 more times, just so we get 4 more nodes. And we're going to do something very similar that we just did. So on the 2 outside ones, we're going to make those pure white. So we'll go ahead and select those and make them pure white. Then on the 2 ones in the middle, we'll make pure black. Like so. Then with this white selected, we're going to put that value at a 0.602. Then we're going to take the black and we're going to put that at a 0.607. This second black right here we'll put at a 0.648. Like that. And this white we'll put at a 0.651. So what that does is it gives us some extra stuff going on inside of some of the clouds, but not all of them. And so that is super cool. And so yeah. Anyways, this is going to be the main mask of our lava versus rock, and so that is quite awesome. So now that we have that, we're going to go ahead and create the mask for the lava, which is going to factor into the overall mask slightly, so we're not going to be doing any mixing yet. But to stay organized, go ahead and select all of these and press Ctrl J. Then with your frame selected, if you press the N key, you can open up this side panel here, go to Node, and we're going to go to Label, and I'm going to call this the main mask, just so that we know what this is, because there are 3 main setups that we're going to be doing. This is a rather small one, and we don't want to get confused. So for the lava mask, we'll hit Shift A and search up a Musgrave texture. Then we're going to press Ctrl T. Make sure we switch from object mapping to, make sure we switch to object mapping and get rid of the generated one. Then Ctrl Shift and left click this Musgrave texture. Then with this selected, we're going to go to FBM and switch to multifractal. Then the scale, we're going to up to a 10.2. Like that. The detail, we're going to up to an 8. The dimension we'll put at a 0.1, and the lacunarity we'll put at a 3.5. So what this gives us is it gives us some really nice grains, and we're going to be using this to factor in some rock to where the lava is. Just little like grainy fragments that is sort of solidified on top. So to further modify this, we'll hit search up a color ramp like this. Then with this color ramp, we're going to take the white and black and we are going to flip them like this. We'll put the black in the very end. Then this white, we're going to put something close to a 0.715, something close to that. 0.718, that's pretty close. We'll put it at 0.714 for now. And that is looking pretty good for the contrast. But we don't want it to be happening in all of the lava, which is why we're going to be hitting Shift A to add a noise texture to decide where we want the extra rock to be versus where we don't. So we're going to take this vector, plug it into here, Control Shift and left click to view, change the scale here to a 2, the detail up to a 10, the roughness to a 0.6, and the distortion we're going to put it to 1. This gives us some nice swirls. Then we're going to hit Shift A, search up a color ramp, and to up the contrast quite a lot. We're going to take this black and move it something really close to a 0.5. So we'll just leave it at like a 0.5, why not 0.5 exactly. Then the white, we're going to take in, bring it really close as well. Not super close, so something like a 0.53. 0.532 is close enough, just so that we don't have any blurring when we get into the color of this, because if we leave these two linear like this, then there is a little bit of blurring that occurs, and we don't want that. Something we could technically do is switch the blending mode here to constant, but if we do that, then we don't get a little extra glow under the rock, and when we leave the extra glow, it kind of looks a little bit cooler, so that's why we're leaving this close to a 0.53. Anyways, now that I've explained that, we're just going to mix these together using the bottom one as a factor. So let's Shift A, search up a mix RGB right here. We're going to take the color from this color ramp and plug it into the factor. Control Shift left click to preview this mix node. We're going to take this bottom value, switch it to a black, switch the color from the Musgrave texture color ramp into color 1, and we're going to go ahead and check the clamp box here like this. So what this is saying is where there is black, there's going to be no extra rock added, but where there is white, there will be a little bit of extra rock added, but only where there's lava. So it's not going to be like this all over. So for example, if there's lava in this black part, there will not be any extra rock added. Essentially is what this is saying. So it adds extra rock only where there's lava, only where it's not pure black. Anyways, that might be a little complicated. But the next step is to be blending this rock with this rock. So to do that, we're going to hit Shift A, search up a mix RGB right here. And we're going to take the color from this one, plug it into color 1. The color from here, plug it into the factor. Take color number 2 here, switch it to all white, and go ahead and check the clamp here. So if we Control Shift and left click this, we can see what is going on. Now that we're previewing this, currently what is showing is the black is where the lava is and the white is where the rock is. So if you can see here in the black, we have some nice grainy effects going on, and that's pretty cool. And as always, like I said earlier, you can always change this mask up a bit, and we'll fiddle with that at the end to make some cool effects as well, in addition to the one that you saw in the thumbnail. So the next step is going to be, we're going to be factoring what we have into emission strength and things like that, which is pretty simple. And we're going to search up an invert node actually, right here. We're going to take the color, plug it into the color of the invert node. Then we're going to hit Shift A, search up a math node. And on this math node right here, we're going to switch from add. We're going to go over here to multiply. Take this color right here, plug it into the top value. And then we're going to take the value of this math node and plug it into the emission strength of the principled shader here. So if we Control Shift and left click this, we can see that currently we have this. So if we change this to a 10, like so, we can see now that the lava is glowing and the island is not glowing. So that is really awesome. The next step is going to be factoring in to our bump. And to do that, we're going to press Shift A, search up a bump node right here, take the color from our mix node, plug it into the height. We're going to leaving this strength on a 1, take the normal and plug it into the normal of the principled shader. And if we Control Shift and left click to preview the bump, we get this cool effect. And as you can see here, we have some rock on top of our lava, but we haven't really factored in the bump of the rock yet. That's why you see it so smooth up here. You'd think that's where the lava is, but really where you see all these super smooth areas is where the rock is. Now you do see some spots that are smooth where the lava is, but that is going to be staying smooth. And so if you're wondering why this is so smooth and it's not rocky, it's because we haven't factored in the rock bump yet. And that is what we are going to be doing right now. So to stay organized though, we're going to select this right here, press Ctrl J. Then once again, you can hit N to open up this side panel. On this label, we're going to call this the lava mask, just to say organized. Now this next step, we're adding the rock mask. And to do that, we're going to hit Shift A, add ourselves a Musgrave texture right here. Then with that selected, we're going to go ahead and press Ctrl T. Take the object into the vector, Control Shift left click to preview, like so. We're going to be using a lot of the same settings we used for this one up here actually, but they're going to be slightly different. So we're going to switch to multifractal again. The scale is going to drop down to a 2, the detail to an 8, the dimension to a 0.1, just like the other one, and we're going to leave the lacunarity as it is. This is going to add some cool bump on some of the rock. Next, we're going to hit Shift A to add a color ramp, and we're going to put the height into here. The only thing we're going to be doing on this color ramp is taking this black, and we're going to be changing the value to a 0.5. Just so we get less contrast going on here, because we don't want the little grains here to be too bumpy on the rock. Then next, we're going to be adding some more warping into the rock, or not warping, but bump, I guess you could say. So technically it is warping. But anyways, Shift A, search up a noise texture right here. Just going to take these and grab them and move them out of the way a little bit. Take the vector, plug it into the noise texture. Control Shift and left click to preview this. Leave the scale on a 5. The detail will move up to a 4. The roughness to a 0.2. And we're going to leave the distortion alone. Then press Shift A, search up a color ramp. Plug the factor from the noise texture into the color ramp. Then do the same thing with this color ramp that we did on the previous one. Switch the black value to a 0.5. So, as you can see, there's not a whole lot of contrast going on here, and that is exactly what we want. This is going to be factoring into the majority of the bump. So, anyways, next we're going to hit Shift A, search up a Mix RGB node. To mix these two together, we're going to change the mix mode, or the blending mode here, to multiply, factor to a 1, and check clamp. Then just take the color from the top color ramp into color 1, the color from the bottom color ramp into color 2. Control Shift left click to preview, and we can see that we've got some nice bump going on for our rock. However, we want to be a little bit more detailed than this, so we'll be doing one more layer of this mask. And we'll start off by hitting Shift A, search up a Voronoi texture here. Take the vector from the mapping node into the Voronoi texture. Control Shift left click to preview. And now we're going to switch from F1 to distance to edge. And the scale, we're going to be switching up all the way to a 40 because we want a lot of contrast here. Next, we're going to hit Shift A, search up a color ramp, plug the distance from the Voronoi into the color ramp, and we're going to take this white, and we're going to bring it all the way in to like a 0.075. Basically what this is saying is we want these rocks to be very prominent, and we don't want there to be much else going on other than these rocks right here. Anyways, next we're going to be hitting Shift A and search up a noise texture. And what this is going to do is we don't want these rocks to be everywhere like they are, so this noise texture is going to be deciding where they are and where they're not. So we'll press Shift A, search up a color ramp, plug the factor from the noise texture into the color ramp, Control Shift left click to preview, and we're going to just be switching the distortion on the noise texture to a 1. We'll leave the other values as they are, but for the contrast on this guy, we're going to be moving the black in to something like a 0.45, and then the white in right up close to it, something like a 0.4, something like a 0.45, just like that. Just like put them in with like 0.01 of each other, something like that. So this one's at 0.445, this one's at 0.455. So then we can press Shift A, we can go to search, we can search for a Mix RGB node, leave the blending mode on mix, actually, don't switch it to multiply, turn on clamp, take this bottom texture and plug it into the mix, and take the color from the color ramp on the top and plug it into color 1. If we Control Shift left click to preview, we can see that we have this going on. And you might notice on these rocks that some of it is not exactly what you were hoping for when we get to the final product. And I'll be showing you some things we can switch up on that because the cracks might look a little bit too prominent. And so I'm just letting you know that for the future, depending on what you're going for. But you don't have to mess with it now, don't worry about it. And then we'll hit Shift A and search up another mix RGB node. We'll be building this one on multiply, factor to 1, turning on clamp, and we're just going to be taking this color and plugging it into color 1, this color plugging it into color 2, Control Shift left click to preview, and we've got this. This is basically showing us what our rock mask is going to look like. The rocks are kind of prominent and the rest isn't. And again, this isn't going to be all over the whole thing. It's only going to be where the rock is. Next up, we'll be factoring this into the bump. So to do that, we're going to press Shift A, search up a mix node, because we don't want this going everywhere, because we still need to take in the factor from our main mask. But before we do that, I want to stay organized. So we're going to take all of this, other than the mix node we just added, put it over here. We're going to press Control and J. Oops. And before we forget, go back to this mix node over here and make sure you change this color all the way to a pure white, just so we don't have any messed up blending. Anyways, almost forgot to mention that. That would have been bad. Now with this selected, press the N key, come over here. We're going to switch this to rock mask, as we'll name the label like that. Then we'll come over here to the mask mix from the main mask and the lava and plug it into the factor of our extra mix node right here. Then we'll take the color from this guy, plug it into color 2. And then for color 1 on this, we're going to be switching it to a pure black. Like that. Control Shift left click to preview, turn on clamp. Then when it loads, we have something like this. This is showing us where our lava is, where our rock is, and what the bump's looking like. Starting to look sort of pretty cool, actually. But anyways, the next step to do is we're going to be factoring in the bump from the rock into the bump from this one. So we'll press Shift A, search up a new bump node like this, and then we'll take the color from this mix node and not plug it into the normal, we'll plug it into the height. And we're going to leave the strength on a 1 and everything. And currently, if we Control Shift left click to preview, which I've already done, we can see what we have going on here. This is pretty chaotic looking, but I mean, it is volcanic rock that's formed from lava, so it's not going to look completely normal. And you can see the rock here I was telling you about, these little chips, and it kind of looks pretty cool. Anyways, with that done, we're going to take the normal from our new bump node, plug into the normal of the first bump node like this. Then we're going to Control Shift left click to preview the principled shader. And this is what we currently have going on in the viewport. My viewport's a bit laggy because I'm recording, but in the still image here, you can see where we got our lava, where we've got everything else going. Obviously, there's no colors in here yet, but the bump alone, even with it almost on a pure white, is starting to look pretty good. Obviously, if we darken this up, we can get more of an idea of what's going to be happening later, but it's starting to look pretty good. So to get out of this lagginess, though, for now, we're going to Control Shift and left click this mix node and go on to the roughness. So to do that, we're going to press Shift A, search up a mix RGB here, like this. Then we're going to take this color right here, plug it into our factor, Control Shift left click to preview. Then we're actually going to take this noise texture, plug it into color 1. Then we're going to take this color here and plug it into color 2. This might be a little bit confusing to you because you're like, why are we using these colors? I thought we were done with them. But it plays into the roughness quite nicely. So essentially what it's doing is it's telling us that on the lava, we want the roughness to be not rough at all, but we don't want it to be perfect. So we have this. And then on the rock, we want the roughness to look something more like this. So we have that going into there. And then combined, it looks something like this. Then we just take this color here, plug it into the roughness right here, and then we have our roughness. And again, if we preview the shader, we can see that now the rock has some shinier spots and it has some wetter spots. Obviously, all of these super smooth spots are going to be where the lava is, and so don't worry about that. But yeah, on the normal rock, you can see some variation happening in the roughness, which is sort of nice, especially on these grainy parts right here. It starts to look really good. So now we are almost done. All we have to do is add in the color. And to do that, we'll press Shift A, search up a noise texture, And then we're going to Control Shift and left click to preview that, and then Control T with it. Then we're going to take the object and put it into the vector of the mapping. And technically, you could be using the same texture coordinate and mapping node for the whole thing because we're using object for all of it. But I just figured it was more organized if we separated things out into their different components like this. Anyways, on this noise texture, we're going to take the scale, move it up to a 20, the detail to a 16, roughness and distortion we'll leave there. And now the fun part, our lava colors. So we'll be adding them through a color ramp, and then we'll add a third one right in the middle. So we're going to take this black, we'll position it at about a 0.29, something like that. And then we're going to take the color on this, and I'll give you the exact hex value. Obviously, you can play with these on your own, but this is what I'm using. The hex value is going to be an FFB E00. Again, that's FFB E00. Like that. This is our sort of our brightest color. Then the center one, we're going to be putting it about a 0.298. And the reason for that is we're going to, not a 0.98, 0.298, something like a 0.3. I'm just putting it at 0.298 because it's just a little bit closer to the other one. But anyways, on the hex value for this guy, this is going to be more of our orange one. We're going to be taking that and putting it to an FF8E29. Again, that's FF8E29. And then we get our orange color. Then if we select the guy on the very end here, hit the plus sign, now we have this guy in the middle. This is going to be positioned at a 0.48. This is going to be our transition into the orangish red. And the hex value on this guy is going to be a BF4A27. Again, that is a BF4A27. Like that. And we can see it starting to look really cool over here. This white is obviously throwing things off. And so we will fix that now by moving it to a 0.7, like this, and switching the color on it, the hex value, to a 411B1D. Again, that's 411B1D, like this. And now we've got a super cool lava looking color with some highlights and some contrast in the background. Again, we can move these scales around however we choose later on. We could even change the colors to blues if we wanted to, because blue lava does look kind of cool, even though it's not real. But if you're into some sci-fi stuff, that's some really cool stuff you can do with this. Anyways, now we just need our rock color. We'll hit Shift A, search up another color ramp, take the factor from here, plug it in. Then on these values, we're just going to leave this one here at a 0.01 on the value scale. That's really close to a normal black. Then this one we'll just put at a 0.1 on the value scale. So if we Control Shift and left click, it's just a dark gray rock, essentially. And nextly, all we have to do is factor these into our color and emission color. So we'll take this mix RGB here, take the color from this, the lava, plug it into color 1, the color from the rock color into color 2, and then the mask for this guy, we're going to be plugging in this mask right here from this mix node into the factor. Control Shift left click on this guy, make sure you check clamp if you're using filament colors, and we get this. And this is looking pretty darn good. Obviously the mask is whatever you made it here. Again, you can always play with that. You can take the blacks, move them in, stuff like that, change how you want values to be working, etc., etc. But anyways, with this, all we have to do is take it into our colors. So grab this guy, move it into the base color here, and also put it into the emission color right here. And then we are pretty much done. If we Control Shift left click to preview, we can get ourselves a nice view. If we hit 0, then we go to camera view and we get this super cool view. And if you're wondering why does it look sort of faded even though I have it on higher contrast, it is because we do have some 3D lighting going on here, and this is like a bright sunny day, and normally in lava environments we see something that's a bit darker. So if we take this HDRI here and we switch it to this darker room here, if we take the strength and we can just lower that maybe to like a 0.5, put it on half, then we can see the darker rock showing up. And if we want it to make it even more prominent, I'm going to go ahead and go over here to layout. We're going to turn off the HDRI entirely. So I'm going to go ahead and switch the strength on this to a 0. I'm going to press Shift A, add ourselves a point light. I'll switch the strength on this guy to something like 1000. Then I'm just going to grab him and move him on the X over here. Go to camera view, grab him, move him up on the Z quite a bit, like this. And then we can go ahead and take the strength, and I'll move it down to like a 500 so it's a little bit less bright. And then we can get some cool lighting stuff going on here. And as you can see, the lava is glowing nicely, a nice 10. And we can see the detail in the rocks. Obviously, if I up the strength on this to like a 2000, we can see the detail in the rocks even more, the brighter the outside lights get. But it sort of fades the lava light, which is how obviously things actually work. But anyways, this is a super cool way you can do things with lava and Blender, because you can really do some cool things with this. Like you could just use a completely different color ramp. Like if I hit Shift A, search up a new color ramp right here, take this factor, plug it in here, Control Shift left click to preview. Let's say I just wanted to do something like this. We do want to make sure you have high contrast when you're playing with it. I could do something like this. Maybe don't even use a noise texture. Maybe use something like a brick texture. Why not? Let's just throw a brick texture in here, because who cares? I'm going to take this, organized a little bit better. Let's take the vector here, plug into the brick texture, Control Shift left click. Obviously this is looking a bit whack. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to switch all the colors here to a white. So we get that. And then if I switch these scales down, does that help? Sort of. Let's switch this to like a 0.5. Okay, so we have our brick here. Can I rotate you 90 degrees? Yeah, let's do that. Rotate 90 degrees on the X. So we have brick on one side. Obviously, it's not going to be looking good on all the sides because it's a sphere. It's not a cube. So what do you expect to be happening? Yeah, can't exactly get it looking proper on a sphere. But anyways, if we use this mask, all I have to do is take the new mask. Oops. Take it directly from here, plug it into the factor here. And if we Control Shift left click to preview the pinchable BSDF, it literally changes the entire mesh and the entire texture, and it looks pretty sick. Like, look at this. Look at that lava. Look at these lava bricks. That's pretty epic. And I literally just changed one thing. You can change so many things, and all you have to do is change one node set up here, which is the main mask, and you can create some super cool effects going on here. So yeah, obviously you can change the offset on this and crap, do so many things. Up the mortar size, more lava, less lava. Whoa. Oh, what was that in between I saw there? That was... Yo, mortar size, 0.01. Oh, that was just a bit laggy. But yeah, you can do some really cool things just by changing the mask. So I encourage you to do so. Anyways, obviously I'm going to be leaving it on the main one that you saw in the thumbnail. But I'm also going to be switching the mask up for different projects and things. And so hopefully you can do that too. And you already got your rock detail and lava detail in there. So you literally just have to change one thing and get different lava effects. And it's super epic. So hopefully you find this material very useful to you. It was really complicated, but hopefully it was worth it, because hopefully you won't ever have to make other lavas ever again. So thank you for watching. If you have any materials in the future that you want to create and don't know how, go ahead and leave a comment in the description and I'll figure out a way to make it. And then I'll do a tutorial on it, obviously. And so yeah, anyways, I'll see you all in the next one.